Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. In this short video, I just wanted to highlight why Apple's services segment is so crucially important to the company. So let's dive right in. So this is the company's latest conference call, and the CFO highlighted some statistics about the business, the separation between products and services. So let's dive into these results here. So product revenue came in at 60.6 billion, which is down 4% last year. However, their installed base reached an all-time high across all geographic segments. What they mean by installed base is the number of Apple devices in use, right? Think of iPads, iPhones, Mac computers, laptop computers, and so on and so on. That reached over 2 billion in the most recent quarter. So there are more than 2 billion Apple devices in people's hands today. And that leads to the services business. Because if you've already got an Apple device, you're more inclined to buy something like Apple Music or Apple TV Plus, Apple Care, or one of Apple's many other services that they offer. You're more likely to purchase it if you've already got an Apple device. So their services revenue set an all-time record of 21.2 billion. That's up 8% year over year. And if you look at the mix here, about one third of its revenue, one fourth of its revenue came from services. Services was one third of the product's revenue, one fourth of overall revenue. This isn't the true mix of the company's overall revenue because during this June quarter, services tends to make up a larger percentage of the overall revenue. The holiday quarter is when most of the hardware is sold, right? Laptops, iPhones. That is, more prominent during the holiday season. So if you combine all of it, services doesn't quite make up 25% of the company's annual revenue just in this quarter. Apple would like the services segment to continue growing to make up a larger portion of its business because of what I'm about to share. So you're not going to want to miss this. The company gross profit margin was 44.5%, which was a record level for June. For June, right? They sometimes have higher gross profit margins in other quarters. This was up 20% from the most recent quarter, and this was driven by cost savings. The product's gross margin was 35.4%, much lower than the 44.5 overall. The services gross margin was 70.5%, almost twice the amount of gross profit margin of the product segment. And that's why I say Apple's services business is crucially important to the company's overall profitability because it's almost twice as profitable as the product segment. And that makes sense intuitively, right? When you're selling a customer an iPhone, it costs you some money to create and build that iPhone, right? That's a lot of cost of goods, materials, labor that goes into that iPhone to sell it to a customer. And so each time you sell one, there's an associated cost of goods sold with that sale. And of course, and that brings down the profit margin. But with services, you don't have that kind of relationship, that variable cost relationship where each new subscriber comes with an incremental increase in the cost of goods. That's not the case with services. With services, you spend money on it up front, and then each new incremental subscriber or each new incremental services purchase just leads to more profitability. Just leads to more profitability, right? Because you could think of it like a movie theater. You've already spent the money to build the movie theater, you've added the seats, you've already paid for the popcorn and all that stuff, right? Well, if you've got 10 people sitting in the movie theater but you've got room for 100, let's say after 10 people you're break even. Well, then the 11th person just adds to profitability, the 12th person adds to profit, 13, 14, all the way up to 100. Each customer that comes in, there isn't an associated cost that comes along with that new customer. You've already built out the capacity for that customer. And that's the case for Apple's services segment. Each new customer that comes in doesn't have that associated variable cost That just so happens with its hardware business, the iPhones, the Macs, the iPads. And so going forward, as Apple grows its services business faster than the other parts of its business, the hardware side, that should lead to rising profitability going forward. So that's why the services business is critically important to Apple, and investors of Apple stock should hope to see this segment continue to grow faster than the business overall. Okay, but that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/Parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now.